Donald Trump is being beaten so badly in the polls right now, not even his friends at the Fox propaganda network can hide it. Yes, the contrast between him and Kamala Harris, a career criminal and a completely corrupt person and a career prosecutor, is so strong and being so noticed and in such an amazing movement of excitement behind Kamala Harris that Donald Trump is crashing and burning in the polls, not just with independents and Democrats, but with his own voters who are slowly but surely moving over to Kamala Harris. And before we get into that poll that just devastated Donald Trump, let's check out this incredible clip from the Lincoln Project showing the contrast between these two candidates that is leading to Donald Trump losing in the polls. Let's check it out.
But now we are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. We are a nation that has lost its confidence, its willpower.
Do we want to live in a country of freedom, compassion, and rule of law? Or a country of chaos, fear, and hate? And here's the beauty of this moment. We each have the power to answer that question. We are not going back. Not going back. We're not going back. We are not going back.
What a perfect contrast between the two. An angry message from Donald Trump and a forward-looking message from Kamala Harris. That is why the race has changed. That is why there is such movement towards Kamala Harris right now. And we are about to show the polls that were put up on Fox to just infuriate Donald Trump. I'm sure he's posting away on Truth Social, so triggered and angry right now. But these aren't the only devastating polls to Donald Trump that I'm going to show you, so make sure to stick around after. But let's get into these polls from the Fox propaganda network. Now, of course, these are some of the most important states in this race, the blue wall states that Kamala Harris is surging in right now. And 10 points in Michigan is just a huge number. That must drive Donald Trump absolutely crazy that Kamala Harris, like I said, isn't just beating him with Democrats and independents, but starting to take away Republican supporters. And I think it's because Donald Trump's approval rating amongst everyone is so bad right now, and Kamala Harris is soaring. And we saw that in some reporting from Mediaite that I want to check out right now. New polling has found Kamala Harris's popularity soared 8 points in a single week, now at +1 favorability compared to Donald Trump's -16. The popularity of Vice President Kamala Harris has surged while President Donald Trump's has fallen simultaneously. A new poll has found, according to a survey put out Sunday by ABC News and Ipsos, the vice president's popularity skyrocketed 8 points in just 1 week. In all, 43% of respondents said they view Harris favorably, compared to 42% who view her unfavorably. Just last week, the same poll pegged the vice president's favorability at 35% compared to 46% unfavorability. And while Harris is now above water in that poll, Trump is very much underwater. The former president, who reached a 4-year high of 40% in the poll last week, is now back down to 36%. His unfavorable rating, meanwhile, now stands at 52%, a -16 spread compared to the vice president's +1. And the news is no better for Trump's running mate, Senator J.D. Vance. The poll found just 24% have a favorable opinion of the GOP vice presidential nominee, compared to 39% who have an unfavorable view. Now, this approval rating poll that shows Donald Trump very much underwater and Kamala Harris surging right now, it's not that she's just up 1 point in her favorability, which we have not seen from President Biden in a very long time. It's not that she's just up 1 point, but she is surging right now. We see momentum shifting in her favor as she picks up steam in this race. And it is not just her favorability where Kamala Harris is destroying Donald Trump. A new poll out of Michigan found that Donald Trump has 0% among black voters. Let's check that out. Former President Donald Trump received the support of no black voters in a new Michigan survey. The WDIV Detroit News poll found that the presidential race is in a dead heat between Trump, the Republican nominee, and Vice President Kamala Harris, the presumptive Democratic nominee, with each receiving 41% of support. Among the black voters surveyed, 82% support Harris, 11.5% support independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy, and none, I repeat, none, supported Trump. Other polls have indicated that Trump's gains among black voters have eroded since President Joe Biden quit the presidential race on Sunday and quickly endorsed Harris, who is of Black and South Asian descent, to replace him at the top of the Democratic ticket. Voters are clearly coalescing behind Kamala Harris right now, all across the board, and we are seeing support that Donald Trump had slowly taken away from Joe Biden now quickly being returned to Kamala Harris. Now, of course, the race between Joe Biden and Donald Trump was so close, and it seemed like the president was lagging in such a way that he saw it fit to pass the torch to Kamala Harris. And now there is tremendous momentum behind her. So many soft Democratic voters who were unsure if they were going to be backing President Biden in November are now throwing their full support behind Kamala Harris in this tremendous movement in which we see so much excitement from, like I said, not just Democrats, not just independents, but Trump voters are actually moving over to Kamala Harris. Her surge in popularity is contributing to a surge in disapproval in Donald Trump. He is falling right now. His favorables are so low after he got a little bit of a boost from the RNC. That typically happens with candidates, that they get a little bit of boost from their convention, but that hasn't even happened with Kamala Harris right now because the DNC is still a couple of weeks out. So her popularity is only going to grow and grow and grow as she goes out on the campaign trail and makes the case for herself, for her candidacy, and why she is the right person to defeat Donald Trump and, of course, become the next president of the United States. But it's not just Kamala Harris who is out making an incredible case for herself. One of her best surrogates, and someone who we love on this show, is Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, who laid out such a great case, calling out Donald Trump and saying why Kamala Harris and the Biden-Harris administration has been so historic and why Kamala Harris would make a historic president. We just have to check it out.
That's the real reason I think she's going to win, is that most Americans already agree with her on the issues that they care about the most, that affect them the most, whether we're talking about choice and her stance on defending a woman's right to choose versus Donald Trump, who eliminated a right to choose in this country.
Well, he sent it back to the states, to be fair.
Let's be very clear. He is proud of the fact that he demolished the national right to choose in this country, period.
But there are states that are figuring this out. I mean, there are some that are, it's nearly impossible, a 6-week ban or less. But there are others, there are states in this country that allow no restrictions up until the due date of a child.
There was a national right to choose in this country, law of the land, for 50 years, which the vast majority of Americans believed was the right thing to do. But Donald Trump made a promise when he was a candidate, one of the few promises he actually kept, by the way. He didn't keep his promise of 6% economic growth. He didn't keep his promise to drain the swamp.
He did have a pandemic to deal with.
But even before the pandemic, America went into a manufacturing recession, which really hurt places like where I come from in the industrial Midwest. But anyway, my point is, he broke his promise for that kind of economic growth. He broke his promise to pass an infrastructure bill, right? He said he would do that. He failed to do it. The Biden-Harris administration got it done. He even broke his promise to that January 6th mob when he said, I will be at your side when you march down to the Capitol. But he actually did keep two promises. He kept his promise to destroy the right to choose in this country, and he kept his promise on tax cuts for the rich. And if you want to know what a second Trump term would be like, I would start by looking at those rare promises that he actually managed to keep.
He did say that he wanted to get rid of Roe v. Wade, but again, send it to the states where they are actually
empower the states to eliminate women's access to abortion. And also, as you know, the Republican Party continues to be interested in a national abortion
which he's disavowed completely.
Yeah, he's disavowed a lot of things. I don't believe him.
You think
he lies all the time.
You think
Pete Buttigieg, always such an incredible messenger for the Democratic Party, and I think the case that he lays out there is so important, and it's been one that Kamala Harris has talked about so much, and it is a forward-thinking, a forward-looking case against Donald Trump. Of course, we talked about the contrast of he is a career criminal, someone who is completely corrupt. Well, Kamala Harris has dedicated her life to public service and fighting against the corrupt and fighting against criminals like Donald Trump. Of course, that case is incredibly clear. But we also see the case now being made that Donald Trump is the past, not just because he was previously the president, as Pete Buttigieg talked about the many failings of the Trump presidency that we all could see with our own eyes and say, we do not want to go back to that. Of course, he was old because he was the former president, but his ideas also remain old still. There has been no progress forward, no change in Donald Trump. He is the same person he was then, but now worse. He wants to push us even further back than he did in his first presidency. He wants to create more division and divisiveness and anger, and wants to strip away more fundamental freedoms and civil liberties that have been so hard fought and won. The same civil liberties and freedoms that Kamala Harris wants to preserve and protect and enshrine. This is now a campaign about young and old. We see Kamala Harris as a fresh new face of the Democratic Party, and Donald Trump, someone who says he's not a politician, someone who's now become the establishment in the Republican Party. He is the Republican Party, and the Republican Party is a party of old ideas and a party of attacks on our democracy and institutions. So the case that we are seeing is incredibly clear at this point, and it is easily made by incredible surrogates like Pete Buttigieg or Jasmine Crockett, and of course Kamala Harris herself on the campaign trail. And that is why we are seeing this tremendous movement in the polls right now as Kamala Harris continues to surge. And as people around the country see that she is picking up this momentum, that she is picking up steam in the polls, that her numbers keep going up and up and up, I am sure that her support will continue to grow. Because this race has completely changed. Kamala Harris has redefined what the narrative against Donald Trump is. It's not just stopping him and stopping the attacks that he'll make, but it is reinvesting in America in this tremendous way with this young and new and up-and-coming and incredible figure in our politics in Kamala Harris, someone who wants to continue the work of the Biden-Harris administration by investing in infrastructure, battling climate change, lowering prescription drug costs for generations to come. This is a generational change in our politics. Defeating Donald Trump won't just be about defeating Donald Trump. It'll be about pushing us all forward, and that is an incredible case for Kamala Harris. And I am so excited to continue to make it on this show, and if you are as well, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, you join what we are building here, you leave a like on the video by hitting the thumbs up. It really goes a long way in supporting what we're doing, and it means the world to me. It really does. I am so incredibly grateful for what we've already built on this channel and what we will continue to build because of you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.